Thanks for introducing me, Jessica. If anyone has any questions throughout the slides, feel free and raise your hand and I will call on you. So this is very, like I said, it's very informal. So my name is Meghann. This is a painting from grad school. It's called Memories of Caroline. So I integrate industrial materials into my process. So this is who I am. So I was really excited about this conference. This is my first official conference, and I was really excited when I saw the options to apply under. So the best one that I could categorize myself in was the process of art / parentheses work that promotes play in adults and in children through dance drawing and dance painting, which is my work. Play is something that I always am researching in with myself and with my children. I am getting my second master's in early childhood education and special education from Teachers College at Columbia. So in my research right now, I am working in progressive and emergent schools. So like Bank Street, the School for Children, is where I've been doing research this past year. And I've also been working in the Reggio Emilia approach. So definitely fits in as being an artist. So, what is play? Now, would anyone who participated in the workshop like to maybe question or think about what is play? Does anyone have any ideas of what they would want to? No? No takers. Okay. So for me, this is a wonderful quote that I found in my research. Play is an expression of the child's developing personality, sense of self, intellect, social capacity, physicality. This is a picture from a workshop I did at the Children's Museum for the Arts in New York City. So you can see the children are expressing themselves in their own unique way. And for me, doing research, it's really intriguing to see children be authentic in their mark making and their educational development. So. Do I have any of the people that were in the workshop before? All right. So, how did you play? How did you experience it? Would you like to share some of your experiences that you felt? Did it make you feel good? Was it different? Did it expose you? I don't know.
I was a little bit uncomfortable at first, but as it progressed and everyone, the collective feeling kind of eased my discomfort, and it started to make me realize how stiff as an adult you get, and how distant we are from that ability to just jump in and be in one.
So that's the distinction between being an adult and being a child. If you experience being in a play-based curriculum with children, you're, as an early childhood educator, the immediate reaction is to, well, for me, is instinctively to participate in it, to be on their level, be on the ground, really interact with them. And being adults, like you said, it's, we are trained to be a certain way and to act a certain way. And when we are given materials, we kind of are hesitant about playing because we need to be a certain way. So I'm really glad that you brought that up because that is something that I've been looking at research in education, and especially in early childhood education. So thank you for sharing. So I was trying to figure out, so going through the research, because I'm not proposing a paper, I wanted to talk about what I would have written about if I did, but I felt like a PowerPoint was the best way to describe it through pictures. So it is about bringing the ultimate immediacy to the participant and to the audience. It is about bridging both dance and painting together and leaving a physical mark. I have always questioned what a dance would look like after it's finished. I like playing with materials and figuring out how to place them in an authentic way. I provide the participant with an open invitation to play with the materials in their own authentic way. So my research at Parsons my thesis was about bringing the performative aspect to painting. And it made me very uncomfortable to expose my performance apart. I think being a visual artist, an artist can keep their process hidden in their studio, and at the end of their work, they get to expose it. They put it on a wall, they don't have to talk about it, they just allow the observer to come look at it. So my professors at Parsons really pushed me, once they knew that I was a performer at heart, to expose my process. So for me as a performer, it is still extremely uncomfortable to perform. So as an educator, I just found this quote during research this past week, and I wish I had it before. Anyways, I really like it. It says, whoever teaches learns in the act of teaching, and whoever learns teaches in the act of learning. So there's always a process of learning in education and as an artist. So when we teach, we are also learning, and as teachers, we are learning from our students. And this is, I thought it really was insightful. So audience as an observer and participant. So I was trying to figure out how to expose and kind of break down the process of ballet and figure skating and talk about how the audience is as an observer. So in ballet, an audience never participates. So when you go to see a theater performance, we are participating in a different type of way. We are not interacting with the artwork. And then in figure skating, because I grew up as a competitive figure skater, the audience also never participates. But when I was doing compulsory figures, which is the basis of my dance drawing, I would have judges viewing this process. So you make these large circles. I think I showed it in the next slide. But but in my work, I usually sometimes will not invite the audience to participate, and sometimes I will. So today I invited people to make my dance paintings, but in my dance drawings, I don't invite anyone to participate in them. So here I am as a ballet dancer. And this is me as a competitive figure skater. So my first ever experience with performance art was in New York in 2007. I was invited by Creative Time to participate in Adrian Piper's performance piece called Everything Number 10. It was 6 actions for New York City. It was hosted by Creative Time. And I had to wear a henna tattoo on my forehead that read, everything will be taken away. And I had to document it for 2 weeks and journal about it. For me, in my process, it was really scary to be in New York City and actually performing Adrian Piper's work in my own authentic way. I love Adrian Piper's work because she tests the limits of her body and her identity and her gender. And for me, I'm not usually questioning these abilities, but this was the first entryway into performance art in my graduate studies and being in New York City for the first year. Does anyone have any questions or anything? No? Okay. I also had the opportunity to sit with Marina Abramovich at MoMA in 2010. I was in her 3rd week of sitting, and it was the most amazing, also invigorating experience as being an artist living in New York City. Sitting across somebody who is a master and who is like the grandmother of performance art was amazing. I sat with her for 45 minutes, and it was an open invitation, so you can sit for as long as you wanted, and there was a clock above, so you could see how long you were sitting, but it was a great experience. I also wanted to provide a list of artists that I am inspired by. I know this kind of looks like a laundry list, but when artists talk about their work, they're usually asked who are they inspired by. There's no general works that I am inspired by these artists, but these are artists that definitely influence my work and that I've interacted with. I've worked with Jonathan Lasker, who is a great painter, and who is represented by Chime and Reed Gallery in Chelsea. And yeah. So as an artist, we are also questioned as our theory. And because this is a conference, I figured I would add some theory into my process. And working in early childhood education, I am very familiar with Vygotsky. So he was the philosopher of zone proximal development. So to break it down for you, it was, being a teacher, I will show you, then we will do it together, now you do it by yourself. And then I usually like to reflect on it. That's my own little adding to that. Here is a performance that I did in collaboration with a fashion artist in New York for Fashion Night Out in 2011 at the American Folk Art Museum. She asked me to work on making a dress for myself in the window at the museum. So here it is. You can have the audience, and they are not participating. So that kind of questions how participants act during a performance, which also is something that I'm interested in. Here is the first time I've showed a dance painting. And then the shoes came about in 2008. The shoes for me are a big part of being a dancer and a competitive figure skater. They are also an object after the performance, so it becomes an artifact. And I can also exhibit them. So the dance drawings were created because I used to use a scribe as a competitive figure skater. So I've had to memorize, my body has had to memorize how to make a perfect circle on the ice and be judged for it in order to pass for competitive figure skating. So I wanted to give you a visual of, the dance, of where the dance drawings have been inspired by. And they're not that pretty to watch. And usually the United States Figure Skating Association stopped airing compulsory figures for the Olympics. I think it was like in the 70s and 80s because they weren't getting enough viewers to watch that part of figure skating, so they cut it out. But to me, it's a very intimate process. So then in 2010, I was asked by David Gibson to create a one-night performance at Endpoint Enterprises, which is a gallery located in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So I was asked to perform my thesis work, which is my dance drawing work from Parsons. So for this performance, I had microphones on the floor. So the materials were the sound, and you heard like the ripping of the tape and the bubble wrap, and it was, that's kind of my vocabulary for my work, is the sound of it, and also the performance of it. I don't know if I can click that, but this is a dance drawing of mine. This is a still from the video. It is on my website. I don't know, I think I'm going to try clicking it. I don't know. If it probably doesn't work. Thank you. This is a performance that I was invited to in Stockholm at Young Art to perform. You can just show, you can skip through parts of it. Okay. So the gallery is called Young Art. I don't have the sound though. But these are the materials that I would use. So for this performance, I was trying to make the perfect circle. So over repetition of marks and the use of my body as a dancer, but also trying to mimic the scribe that I had used my whole life as a competitive figure skater. The shirt that I'm wearing is a statement of when Occupy Wall Street was happening in New York City. I've been working for different retail companies and thinking about, as an artist, do we have a costume? Do we have an identity? Do we, what does my outfit say about me as a performer? As an artist who sells in the market, like what would be my image. So the artist that I collaborated with for the American Folk Art Museum, she gave me 2 pieces of hers, and I used it as like a symbol of who I am as an artist, because it was like a big circle on the back. So my symbol is myself as my identity for my work. I like that you're able to see the performance, you have a piece at the end, and then it becomes an artifact. And to me, the artifact is a very important piece of my work as a visual artist. So here is a picture of my dance painting. And here is, I'm not just using my feet, but I'm using the rest of my body into the performance. Dance painting, I was commissioned by Hillsborough Community College in the dance department, and by the theater director, he told me that I had to create 2 works with the dance department. I had never choreographed for kids or adults ever in my life. Growing up as a dancer, I never really saw myself as a choreographer, so I've never wanted to create a piece for other people. But being commissioned, I made Time to Get Personal, which is bringing my studio practice to a live audience. So I got to have a whole theater to think of how to use it as my studio. So instead of having an 8 by 10 studio in Brooklyn, I had a whole theater to work with. He used to run kind of like a Circus du Soleil kind of company, so he encouraged me to think about the ceiling, rigging, how I could bring my studio practice to a live audience. So you'll see it in some other photos, but I created those. He made walls for me, and I made a dance painting by throwing paint around on canvas on the stage, and the audience got to see it. And then I had about 15 or 20 kids to make another piece with, and I made it the idea of being present. And I wanted to expose the process of being a dancer and allowing the viewer to see the dancer not just as a performer, but to see themselves as themselves. So this is the idea of being present. So I really just wanted to get to know the students by their own movement and how they warm up. And I think as a dancer and as an artist, we have our own ways of preparing for our work to be exposed. And we never really get to see the process, because the process is something that an artist keeps to themselves. It's not something to be exposed. But for me, I wanted to expose the audience to the process of how a dancer warms their body up. So for me, I got to watch all these dancers come into their studio, come into their practice, meditate, stretch, and that was what the audience got to see for the performance. So they started out kind of going around the studio or going around the stage, and then at the end, I had them all get lined up at the bar like they were going to get ready for a performance. So the audience got to see them standing at the bar for at least like 2 or 3 minutes. When the piece, I don't have the full video for this piece, but the beginning, seeing the students walk out onto a stage and have the lights dim, I think a lot of the audience members had no idea that the performance was actually starting. They were waiting for the performance to actually start, but then once the music had started, they had the idea that they were preparing for something, but they didn't know what they were preparing for. And at the end, I know there's a famous piece by George Balanchine that he has made where he has dancers line up and then he has one dancer come in late to come into the line. And that's kind of, I like the wittiness of playing with performance and really, making fun of the artist, but also just exposing process. So this was a lot of fun to make with college students for the first time. And then this is what a final product looks like. These works are permanently in Cleveland at the 78th Street Studios. The pink and black are dedicated to Balanchine. And this is what the process looks like when they're exhibited in a gallery space. So everything becomes an artifact from the performance, even the drop cloth that's on the floor to protect the floor, it becomes a painting, and so do the pieces from the performance. So, I was invited at the Children's Museum of the Arts to create my work with young children. I got to collaborate with Barbara Hunt-McCallahan, who is the executive director, and the director of fine arts, Jill Weinstock. I've worked with Barbara for the last 10 years. Well, I've known her for 10 years. I was her intern at Artist Space, and she has been following my work and had asked me to create a body of work for the gallery's lobby. And she was curating a show called Works in Progress. So she was bringing in artists to work with kids and to bring your process to the gallery space. So this was really the first time I was bringing it to the public of my work. So I had between 150 and 200 kids for 2 weeks coming through, and I had 7 assistants making my shoes. So here we are, exposing process. As we manipulate, we touch, we feel, as we manipulate, we touch, and we feel. As we look, as we see, as we listen, we hear. This is a good Dewey quote that I feel fits with my process. And then for young children, painting challenges infants to use their body, and especially their eye, hand nexus in new ways. So it was really an extraordinary experience to have babies participate in my work. Here's a girl just taking her beating of her own drum. And it's not just for kids, but it can also be for adults. I wanted to look at how we document art and how documentation is also a participatory type of position in performance art. And I thought this quote really fit with it. It says, as humans, we not only enjoy, whoops, it was a mistype, I apologize. Our engagement in play, but we also are often fascinated by the play of others. So, like, as we saw earlier in the workshop, there were, I think, 6 cameras, and then I was taking pictures, and then other people were taking pictures, so there's different ways to interact with performance art and documentation. Then I was invited to do this work at the Power of Art, which was a different art conference that is also hosted by the Lab School of Washington, D.C. in partnership with the Robert Rauschenberg Foundation. And the Robert Rauschenberg Foundation is one of my favorite foundations, and he is one of my most inspiring artists that I love. And to be asked to perform and to collaborate with a foundation was a very honoring experience. And that is Robert Rauschenberg's son in the middle. And yeah. This is also one of Robert Rauschenberg's photos, and it says tire work, and he collaborated, I think, with John Cage in the 70s, I want to say. It's in my PowerPoint. And this is just a photo of an adult performing my work in that workshop. And that is the final result of the workshop. So that is all my slides that I have. Would anyone like to ask me any questions?